FBI, after 10 long days, went to the place where they found the gloves. Because if people are wondering, well, golly gee, why didn't they go there 10 days ago? Why are they just now going to a place that they just happened to find these gloves? Well, I'm going to explain exactly why they did that and the exact timing that they did that. And it's really quite simple. People, anybody who thinks that Carlos Palazuela has been cleared, he has not been cleared. In fact, he himself admitted yesterday that they still have his phones. I don't know if they have his van or not. His mother-in-law admitted that he did have the van. He did have a van. He had said that his van was in that area because people were reporting a white van, right? But he said that he could have possibly been on her property due to delivery driving. But here's the thing: when they went into that house, they got phones from the entire family, and it was immediately after that that they went and started this hunt for evidence. They went to a very specific area and was looking for evidence. So why on earth would they, after 10 days of her being missing, suddenly do these things? Well, it's quite simple actually, because they got his phone and they retrieved information from this man's car. And this is my personal opinion. Nobody from law enforcement is saying this. But so people can understand why. Why now? Because a lot of people are like, how on earth can you just all of a sudden know where to go to a specific place? Well, obviously they're keeping things close to their chest, and they should. But people can figure it out. So this is what happened. So when they can quickly extract data from his SUV or from any vehicle based on the year mostly to determine where he was and when. So, to determine where he was and when, his mother in law said that he was at that house the entire time. Well, they can take him in, get DNA from him, have him drink some water in the police station or whatever, get some DNA from him, or just go in there and get all the stuff that they need. When they had that Bitcoin activity on that account, that is when they immediately went after him, because it's not, I mean, his statement that they thought that he had the eyes of the guy in the clip, that's ridiculous. They're not going to go after somebody because they think that their eyes match. That was deflection from the actual real reason that they went in there. And he may not know. He may not know why. He's claiming that they didn't ask him any questions, So basically, they wanted him. They can basically, hopefully, by releasing him, that they can monitor him, see if he contacts anybody else, and hopefully will go to where she is. Okay, because this is the biggest priority is to get her back. Okay, so, but what they did, and they asked him, the media asked him if he got his car back. He did get his car back. They didn't need his car. So what they did is they're going to have Celebrite do a forensic analysis on his phones, which he said yesterday they still have. It takes up to 72 hours in an emergency situation to get the full analysis from Celebrite. Otherwise, it would take a lot longer. So this is what they do when they went and got his car. They can get the data very quickly. The infotainment and telematics extraction using tools like Burla IVE, investigators plug into the SUV's dashboard, okay, and or the OBD2 port. So this will pull a full history of GPS coordinates, the speed and idling times. So why that is important, because unlike a phone, these systems are rarely password protected, allowing for almost immediate access. So there was an event trigger. So the car's computer logs every time a door opens or closes, when the gear shifts, like from example from drive to park, and when the lights are turned on or off. So if he stopped at that 1.5 mile mark to maybe do a vehicle transfer, maybe there was more. They said that they definitely have said multiple times they're looking at multiple people. It's not a one party operation. So there was probably a car transfer. Something happened that they got data to know that there was in this area there was a stop of the car, and it was probably a transfer. So they went out there hoping to find something, and they found those gloves. So again, the car's computer logs every time a door opens or closes. If he stopped at that mark to just, the gloves may have just been dropped, right? Or to move the victim, the SUV recorded the exact second it happened. They didn't probably know what they were looking for. Maybe it could have been tar tracks. Maybe it could have been a cigarette butt. Anything that was in that area where they know there was a car stop. So smartphone syncing. If his phone was ever connected via Bluetooth or USB, the SUV likely sucked in his call logs, his text messages, and location history. So investigators can read these directly from the car screen or a forensic laptop while they wait for the phone's encryption to be cracked, which Cellebrite. I expect an arrest within 24 to 48 hours. That's my personal opinion. I believe it's going to happen. Okay, so manufacturer data. For vehicles with active services like GM OnStar or Ford Sync, the FBI can simply just request real-time or historical GPS data from the company servers, which they can provide in minutes during a kidnapped emergency. So I believe, yes, they released him, but they didn't clear him, and I do believe there will be charges. And people are acting like he's cleared. I don't know why the media is like twisting everything that happened. I don't know if they're like trying to cover it up to like not make them alerted. But when the mother-in-law was out there talking to the media, she was basically complaining about the police went in there without a warrant, how they broke their door, and just really got them talking, which is, it's good. It's good to get them talking. That's really good, right? So because she contradicted herself minutes later by saying she gave them permission because they don't have anything to hide. That's behavior of deflection, okay? And for him to say, even contradicting his own mother-in-law, she was saying that the FBI told them, well, there was a call that the people are in the house. Now, if they have enough to know who to go after to start investigating, but they don't really have something really strong enough to get a warrant, they may have even created a story about somebody calling it in that that she was there or whatever, but they went in there with a warrant, okay? And so then later the next day the media's twisting it to try to say that she said that they had a warrant. But if you go back to original, the night of, when it was live, when she was out there talking to the media, saying that basically they didn't have a warrant, and she argued with them like, I don't think they can do that without a warrant, and on she went. And then minutes later said, oh yeah, I gave them permission. Like, anyways, but essentially if the mother-in-law provided an alibi and the SUV or the phone data says something different, she'll be arrested also. She will also absolutely be arrested also, right? So if the mother-in-law provided that alibi and the SUV's internal black box provides a time-stamped, indisputable map of exactly where he went that night, okay, then that's my personal opinion. That's why they went to where they went. I mean, if you look at the timing, when the Bitcoin activity happened, where there was a drop, the investigators dropped some money just to see if anybody would check in. Because if they have an app or a service to basically connect with their Bitcoin wallet, then it will send a notification that there's activity in the wallet. So if they take the bait and they look in to see what's going on in their wallet, boom, they can ping that depending on how they're checking in. And so it was right after that activity that they went to his house, that they chased that man down, right? They found out where he was and they chased him down. It wasn't like a routine traffic stop. It was a targeted traffic stop, right? So he wasn't like, oops, this is a mistaken identity. They just like wanted to get in that house, get everything they can while they're building their case, getting all the forensic, stuff from Cellebrite. And why did they, though? It's very telling. To me, it's very telling. When I saw that they immediately went out and started looking in a very specific place, a very specific area to try to find evidence, they've been on this case for 10 long days before that happened. Why wouldn't they have been scouring that area with drones or with people, No, they went to a very specific area and they scored and found evidence. Well, and actually they may have found more than the gloves, but because one of the media people saw them picking up gloves, that's why we know about it. They haven't told, the FBI and the police hasn't told actually what they have. One of the media said they picked up a glove, and another one said they think it possibly could have been two gloves. But there could have been more than that. But you know what I'm saying? They're not letting us know. But the fact that they were able to actually retrieve evidence and they went there immediately after his arrest, it just tells me, this is my speculation, that I truly believe that when they searched his car, they got this information from his car and possibly from his phone. If he deleted a bunch of stuff from his phone, then they will have to, go through the Celebrite, evaluation, and then they will be able to see anything that was deleted, encrypted stuff. They're going to break it all. But I do believe that within 24 to 48 hours, there's going to be an arrest. That's just me personally. Um, I had a big problem with the way that his mother-in-law was deflecting, because she's saying, "Oh, they broke in my house," and you know, um, I mean, she may not know anything that her son-in-law was doing, but if she gave him an alibi and his car was used in whatever happened that night, um, well, she could also be charged. But anyways, I just wanted to share that's what happened. So also about this situation, I think that there is a possibility that the guy was wearing a mask. Whoever it was wearing a mask inside. And here's why I say this. I sketch, right? And I know that everybody's eyebrows and their eyes and their symmetry are different, but it is very rare that somebody's eyebrow, if you look in the mirror and you see your eyebrow, the inside of your eyebrow will line up with the inner corner of your eye. Really close proximity. Some people's are different. Some people will be further apart or whatever. But the eyebrows and the center of the eyes, when I started to sketch, were just way too off to be natural. And so I'm like, I suspected that there was a mask underneath the ski mask to begin with, but I said, I'm going to sit down and probably sketch that. And so it was, if you put a mask on, right, and then you have these eye openings, and you get it all centered to where, the corner of your eyes and inner and outer corners of the eye holes should be, lined up with the center of your eyeballs. But if you put a ski mask on top of that mask, it could get off centered. And I'm telling you, in that video, if you look at it, the eyebrow, which would be facing, if we're looking at the video, it would be our right, but his left eye. Okay, and of course the eyebrows just didn't look natural. It was like they look groomed or just very thin. Of course, a lot of shadowing and depth could be off because of the lighting. And I want to also talk about this ridiculous thing that Inside Edition and other people are putting out. It's just ridiculous, the things that they're saying. And I think people, they don't know any better, and I chastise them for it. I'm like, look, just stop, okay? So basically, they're claiming reverse infrared technology. You can go ahead and Google it if you don't believe me. There is no such thing. It's a made-up word. It doesn't exist. And I don't know why they're doing that, but they should not be adding color to anything, because you could be really throwing people off, because we don't know what color their eyes off. We don't know what color their anything was. Just leave it black and white as it was, okay? But this whole reverse infrared, Inside Edition, putting out nonsense, words that don't even exist. Here's what Gemini AI said about that, right? Here's a breakdown of why this is being peddled. So this nonsense terminology, there's no such thing as reverse infrared in digital imaging or physics. It's like a sensationalized way for Inside Edition to describe image inversion or AI upscaling of the grainy Google Nest footage retrieved by the FBI. If they want to say that, they just enhance the video, just say that. But to make up things like infrared, reverse infrared, is just completely violation of journalist ethics. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, also, I did notice, and other people obviously, because I question this, that the person in the video, appeared to be left-handed, because when he was like doing different things with both hands. One hand he was holding the flowers, and the other hand he was, doing one thing. But when he reached down to pull the flowers out of the ground, that is a dominant hand movement. It was left-handed. The person grabbed the flowers with their left hand. So in evaluating Carlos on the porch, and it doesn't matter if he was the one that was actually the one messing with the camera at that house or not. He doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be him, because there's multiple people involved, and that's been confirmed. But he was using both hands doing different things. But when he went back in the house, because his people in the house was fussing at him, he reached over, went across his body, and he grabbed the door. He could have grabbed the door with either hand. He grabbed the door with his left hand and went back inside. Now, he may not be left-handed, but I'm just saying that people are acting like he is not still a suspect or person of interest. Yes, he is. He admitted that they do have his phones, okay? And after he was like on the porch acting like, oh, they just let me go. They didn't even ask questions. But then the next day they keep questioning him, and then he admits that they still have his phones, right? Okay, so let's go back up here. Okay, so let's talk about the Bitcoin, right? I think this is it down here. Okay, the mask layering. So I said, I think as to the video, the person may have been wearing a mask inside the ski mask. The eyes seem off, right? That's what I said. And it said, that's incredibly sharp observation. The idea of mask layering would explain why the facial proportions in the FBI surveillance photos do look unnatural or uncanny. And a lot of people have said this also, right? If the suspect was wearing a silicone or plastic mask underneath the standard ski mask, it would create exactly the issues you noticed. So the eye to brow misalignment. See, it's one thing to have different asymmetry of the eyebrows, but when you have an eyebrow that is completely just way off center from the center of the eye, okay, if you're somebody that's sketched, okay, I know I have a lot of my friends who draw that, or, I'm preaching to the choir, right? If you go and you look at that picture of that person who's masked, and then try to imagine yourself, you're lining your eyebrows with this. I mean, everything when you're drawing and you're sketching, it's all in very micro, small squares. If you look at something, you break it down in smaller pieces of the image, and you cannot line those eyebrows up. It will not match with the center of the eye, period. It can't be done. Unless there's some kind of scar there that may be appearing to be an eyebrow, something's off. I think it's possible that that person's wearing a mask. So anyways, it is, and honestly, the way that people are like, why would this person plan all this stuff and then show up and not even know how to deal with the camera? It could be, that they were just sloppy, or they could just be wanting to be seen to throw them off, so that they won't know who they're looking for, right? Unless they can figure out the person's wearing a mask. But anyways, he's going out there telling people that he was detained because, and he's saying this is what they told him, and I don't believe that's what they told him, unless they were just lying to him, that they're gonna go chase a guy down to arrest for kidnapping because they think his eyes match the video. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. That's not something the FBI would do. It's just ridiculous. But he's putting that out there, and the media is parroting all that stuff, and they're taking extra care to talk down about the FBI. They're turning this into politics, is what they're doing. And you have the left media, and keep in mind, this is all about a media case, because Today Show and the people, the family who was targeted, are conservative. They're Christians, right? She writes, Christian books, and and so I just feel like the media on the left are really spinning this against the FBI, like they went and targeted this poor guy and he just happens to be Latino, and you got all this ICE stuff, and all this hatred on the current government and FBI. And I mean, they're really just trying to push it in that direction, and they are going out of their way to lie and like hide the fact that this woman said that they didn't have a warrant. Then she changed and said that she gave them permission. And the fact of the matter was, they did have a warrant. They had a court order. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But anyways, and then she said that that the FBI told them that they were there because somebody called it in that she was there and they were looking for her, you know, or something to that nature. I mean, that could have actually happened. But what she's saying as to why, you know, he was arrested or whatever, I guess is like different. But I don't think that they would have said that to him. But at any rate, um, his story, her story changed mid sentence, right? If you go back and you listen to the original conversation she had with the media while they were still there at that house before he was released, she's contradicting herself all over the place. And she did mention a white van because there was a white van seen in the area by a neighbor. Okay. Um, so, anyways, but then here's the thing, they didn't go out and get him until right after the Bitcoin activity. And so that's why I believe that they had enough, probably not enough to charge him, because people can spoof. They can just like literally um they can, you know, falsify stuff, but I think that they have the people in mind who are involved. They're just really trying to get what they need before they go in, because when they make their arrest to charge them, they're going to have their case, right? But right now they're trying to find her, and they're trying to track and monitor covertly without the media, you know, just they can't do anything, you know. I mean, and every time they go to the house and these people's attacking the family, I hope they sue people for them attacking them. There's no excuse for them to continue to attack. They try to say that the brother-in-law looks like the guy in the video. People, I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know if it's because I have artistic ability, but I see so clearly that those eyes do not match. See, the shape of the eyes are exposed. Now, anything around the rest of the face that was exposed, like the eyebrows or whatever, that could possibly be a mask. But the shape of those eyes are exposed. And that guy, the brother-in-law, his shape, if I sit there and show you, I will sketch that man's eyes, and I'm telling you, he has a downward slope. If you go and look at his eyes, they have a downward slope. If you were to put your finger on the middle of his eyelid and then go to the outer corner of his eye, it is a downward slope. And the person in the video does not have that slope. He is not the person in that video. And they just need to quit, right? And so they're collecting the mail at the house because they suspect that they may be trying to communicate to them. They could be sending things to them in the mail. They have tried that somebody dropped a new email saying they've tried to text them, they've tried to email them. Okay, so what's to say they don't want anybody touching that mail but them with gloves, because anything going into their mailboxes, in either one of those, any of their houses mailboxes, is evidence. That is an evidence box. Anytime mail is delivered there, they want it, because they could possibly be sending things in the mail, right? And they could the other family could are also having to hire security because they could also be targeted, right? And so, you know, I just can't believe people are attacking the family. But I do believe, anyways, I'm going to leave it on this. I do believe that there's going to be arrest within 24 to 40 hours, because this is why I'm saying this. Because one, they had a Bitcoin activity, made an immediate arrest, collected a bunch of evidence, and then immediately thereafter went out to a very specific spot and collected evidence. So that means they had evidence to show them that there was an activity that happened in that area, and that probably a transfer. If there was other people involved, you know, they probably put her in another vehicle, okay, or maybe they thought that that they had taken her out there, you know, and maybe done something, or some kind of transfer, or maybe some kind of activity. They stopped there because the evidence said they did. And that is why, of all the places in the whole wide world they could gone to look for evidence, they went to the exact spot that they actually found evidence. And that's because technology told them there was an event there. And they did not have that information until they arrested that man, went and searched in his car, probably picked up the computer stuff and the data out of his car and his phones. So we shall see if I'm right. That's the bottom line. Um, Hello, Pumpkin. I was getting ready to get off here because I've got stuff to do. But basically, the guy that they arrested, um, immediately after they arrested him, they took his phones, they tapped into his car data, and then they immediately went to a spot where an event happened and they collected evidence. And now they have DNA. They have two gloves and they still have the phones. And so Celebrite is probably forensically analyzing everything. He admitted that he had a van in the area. He said possibly that he could have delivered to her house. The mother was all over the place. She said that, oh, well, you know, they broke in the house, they didn't have a warrant, but come to find out, then she turns around and says she gave him permission. But the fact of the matter is, they had a warrant. So that was total deflection. And so, anyways, I just think that, you know, because of the Bitcoin activity, when they dropped that money in there to see if somebody would check it, because if they're using an app, a Bitcoin app or a service where they would get a notification if there's any activity in their Bitcoin wallet, they would get notification. And so it was very shortly after they dropped that money in that wallet that there was activity. And so the person, if they only check, they don't even have to try to off ramp the money. All they have to do is look in their wallet to see what's in there. And they took they took the bait, and that is when they went after him, is because they can track. I think a lot of criminals really, I think people are like, well, why would they use Bitcoin? Because a lot of people believe that Bitcoin is not traceable. And when it first came out, it was hard to trace it because they can break it up in thousands of, you know, they can spread it out. But now that they have specific new laws, they have specific software, and they have tools to be able, no matter how many times they break it up, anytime there's movement, they can track it. They can unencrypt stuff, and they're able to track IPs. It is more, they're able to track people more with Bitcoin than they would if they were looking into like a bank. If somebody's going online and they're checking their bank account, they could use a VPN and all this other stuff. But when it comes to Bitcoin, it's like connected to, depending on how they're looking at it, IP addresses if they used an app. So they went to that house. They went to him. They knew where he was, and it was over. And so as soon as they arrested him, they let him go, and hoping that he's probably going to take them to them or communicate with other people. But as soon as they let him go, they went to that spot where some kind of technology told them there was an event there where she was transferred from one car to another, or they had to stop for some reason or whatever. There was an event that technology told them there was an event there. And they went out there, and within hours, they got the evidence. They got the gloves. And so I do believe there's going to be an arrest within 24 to 48 hours. But, hey, I'm just a little old nobody, so we'll see if, if I'm correct or not. But so I do believe it's a newer, I don't know what year the SUV was, or even if that was the car, but they have his phones. He said that they still had his phones. It's like, well, why? Why would they have his phones, right? Well, because he's under investigation. That's why. So here's what they did when they got. Okay, so when they went in. This is how they got the information from the car. I'm trying to go back here. I'm using. Oh, and also, I think when he was arrested, they probably got his DNA too. Like if they offered him some water at the police station, oh, they done got his DNA, right? Um, Status of Black Glove. I think it's in here. Okay, yeah, and he's left-handed too, and again, he doesn't have to be the one in the video. He doesn't even have to be the one, right? Because they've already confirmed it's multiple people. It's not just one person, it's multiple people, right? So I think the person was wearing a mask because the center of the eye is way off from the eyebrow. It's like probably they put the ski mask on top of the silicone mask, and it caused the eyebrow to be off centered from the center of the eye, right? Okay. So here's how they do the extraction from the car. The alibi versus GPS. Okay, here it is. This is like the technical stuff I was trying to look for. Oh, say, so this is how they can just, all they have to do is they like put something, they can like access the internal stuff of the car and they can get a lot of data. They can get it much quicker than they can from a phone, and there's no password, right? So it's a lot easier to get it from the car. So it's called infotainment and telematics extraction using tools like Burla IVE. Investigators plug in an SUV's dashboard or the OBD2 port. It pulls a history of GPS coordinates, speed, and idling times. So unlike a phone, these systems are rarely password protected, allowing for almost immediate access. So there was an event trigger. So the car computer logs every time a door opens, closes, if the gear shifts, if the lights are turned on. And so that this was in a mile and a half from her house. So there was some kind of data that told them that there was, they stopped there. Either they got it from the phones, but they got it so quickly though. See, forensics from Celebrite would take at least several hours, usually 24 to 48 hours in an emergency case like this. Otherwise it takes months or weeks. But they went there so quickly. We're talking within just a couple hours they were out there looking for that evidence at that exact spot. So I personally think, but I could be wrong, I think they got it from the car, right? So and also what people don't realize is smartphone syncing with their car. If his phone was ever connected via Bluetooth or USB, the SUV likely sucked in his call logs, text messages, and location history. So they can read these directly from the car screen or a forensic laptop. And he was a driver, so he probably had all the updated, all the updated computer stuff in his car, right? Because he was a DoorDash driver, and he was also, I think she said he was a FedEx, so he was like both, is what they're saying. So he probably had all that computer stuff in there, and they easily was able to access that stuff. Didn't even have to have password, because if it was ever connected to Bluetooth, and I'm pretty sure he had his phone synced with his car, and that car had so much stuff in it they probably didn't even realize it. So the manufacturer data for vehicles with active services like GM, OnStar, or Ford Sync, the FBI can simply just request real-time or historical GPS data from the company's servers. See, they have servers that they can went to also, and they can get that in minutes during a kidnapping emergency. So that's why I feel like so quickly after his arrest they went out there to look for evidence out there at that spot. That's what I think. Anyways, I gotta get going because I got a bunch of stuff to do today. And anyways, I hope you all have a blessed day. And thanks for stopping in. And please keep this woman in our prayer. I just hope and pray she's alive. But at the very least, I hope they get her back one way or another. Bless their hearts. And I just wish people would stop picking on their family. That brother-in-law has downward slope eyes, and I'm telling you right now, his eyes do not match the shape of the person in the video, and there's just no reason to like accuse him, especially since, this guy. Anyways, I do expect an arrest within, within a day or two is what I'm thinking. I do believe because they have, well, keep in mind though, the gloves that were picked up out there at that spot, I mean, it could be that it may not have the evidence that they were hoping on it, but I just feel with the Bitcoin stuff, and they're in panic mode. Honestly, another thing, before I get going here, another thing is Derek Calello. So there was a guy who was arrested and charged with basically harassing this victim's family because they sent text messages, I think, to the brother and sister. I don't know why they're targeting. Everybody's targeting the brother and sister. Like the most recent email that they sent was saying that they're trying to contact this brother and sister. It's almost like they're just like trying to keep them in the spotlight. So it makes me wonder if they have an enemy that's like targeting them, because there's a whole lot of targeting of that brother and sister. But at any rate, this email was sent, was text messages, and it was the second ransom request was a hoax. This is what they're saying. So he was charged and he's out on bond, I think $20,000 bond. The first ransom was credible because they had inside information of inside the house, okay, that they couldn't possibly know. And so then I think possibly the person who was acting, accused of being a hoax, I'm just like, I think they need to investigate that more, because it could possibly be that it's not just a hoax, that it could, be presented in a, because there's been multiple attempts. Because then they sent, after his arrest, then they panicked, somebody panicked, and somebody sent a new email with Bitcoin, a new Bitcoin address. And so then people are like, okay, they're out there at Annie and, the son-in-law's house, and they're collecting mail with gloves. And I'm like, yeah, they should, because they're probably trying to send them stuff in the mail. I'm just like, of course they're collecting mail. They're probably doing that at the other house. You just don't see it. They're probably Nancy. I mean, not Nancy, but Savannah and her family's mail is probably being collected too. But she's not where people can like look and see what's going on there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in that family's mailbox is probably being monitored by the feds, because these people are kidnappers sending messages. The media. So they broke. So they broke what they said. They first email they said was they was not going to communicate it again. They're like, look, give us 4 million by this date, and we're not going to send any more communications. This is what you have to do if you want her back. Didn't say how they was going to send her back or anything. Okay, so then after that, they continue to send more emails, and then the next email was like, look, we've been trying to send messages via text, like trying to directly communicate with the family, probably listening to everybody talking online how dumb it was to try to use the media to do this. Like, you're not going to get money using the media. Like, what are you thinking? But anyways, so it's just ongoing. It's like they're not holding to any specific pattern. In this flurry of emails, there's like multiple people involved, and I'm telling you right now, they're going to get them, because I've used Proton email before, and it's out of, I think, Switzerland. And it doesn't matter, they are still under American law, that if they're court ordered, they still have to provide. So it doesn't matter what email they used. I'm telling you now, they're going to get them all. They're going to get them all. It's going to happen. So anyways, I really got to get off here, and hang on just a second. Let me go ahead and add you guys. Bring. Let you guys do what you're going to do. Okay, did I get you, Pumpkin? I'm sorry. Pumpkin, I'm glad to see you. I hope you're still there. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you. I may come back on later this evening or whatever, but yeah, so. Anywho's, thank you guys for stopping in, and please give a like if you haven't already. Stay tuned though, because I'm very interested in this case. I felt bad for the family. That's when I really got fired up about this case, just because I feel like they're just really picking on the family. These YouTubers, oh, I got so mad at them the other day. They just keep just spreading nonsense about the family, and it's just like, why do they do this? Why do and if anybody out there that draws, and I know some of my fellow subscribers, you're somebody who draws. If you look at those eyes in that video that the FBI released, the shape of the eyes, forget the eyebrows, the eyelids, and the eye. I mean, because I think the person's wearing a mask. But if you just look at the shape of the eyes that was showing through, that is definitely exposed, and you look at the eyes shape of the brother-in-law, anybody that draws can know you cannot make that the same person, because the brother-in-law has downward shaped eyes. So there's like a, I don't know if it's like a crease, but it's just the way the eyes are shaped. They're just not shaped the same. Like, he has very what is the word? Profoundly sloped eye shape. Like, it's noticeable. Like, a lot of people's eyes can be very similar. The way the shape comes around the eyelids and goes to the outer corner of the eye, a lot of people's can be very similar, but his is profound. They have a very distinct shape to them, and they do not match in any way the person in the video, right? But anyways, that's all I have to say about that. And I hope you all have a blessed day. I gotta go. Bye. Come back soon.